Welcome to the Mind for Success podcast, a space for heart-centered entrepreneurs to live in deep alignment with what matters most, overcome subconscious limitations, and shift their energy into an unstoppable force. Before we get started, take a deep breath, hit the subscribe button, and enjoy the show. Hello, and welcome to the Mind for Success podcast. I'm Kimberly Lebbing, and today I'm going to share with you, here's our topic. We're going to share from chaos to clarity, 5 daily practices for thriving entrepreneurs. So this topic came to mind because I work with a lot of people, and this is one of the main things that comes up over and over and over and over again. And what I have found when working with people is that if you have your daily practices, daily routines in place, the rest of the day, the rest of everything, the week, the day, the month, and everything goes so much smoother. You're so much more focused. You sleep better. And you just, in general, your day is going in a way that you direct it rather than reacting to everything. So I wanted to hit on this topic again. I've touched on it in different ways and past podcasts, but today I wanted to touch on it in a different way and go through some of my own practices with you and different things that I have tried that have really helped me with my focus, with my clarity, and have really made a big difference in my business. Earlier today, I was on a Zoom with some other coaches, and one of them was talking about how when she started putting this into practice on a daily basis, it made what used to take 8 hours, she can do in 2. And it's because of the focus. It's because of the alignment that you have with your being, and you're not going after things in such a scattered way. So let's dig in. So number one, I want to talk about the practice of either meditation or prayer, and what that can look like and how you can incorporate that. So one of the things I talk to business owners and entrepreneurs about that is a discipline. It is not easy to do. And that is when you get up in the morning, stay off of your phone, stay off of your phone, put it to the side, and do some things for you to help you get centered and focused before you start checking messages, social media, your email, and all of the things. When we do that first, when we do all those other things first, it puts our brains into immediate reactive mode, and we're not able to focus throughout the day as much. It really makes it difficult to do that. So what I like for people to do instead is to, one, I will say this, if it's meditation or prayer, whatever your jam is, know that you have to start somewhere. So it doesn't have to be like this big, long, complicated sort of thing. It can be very simple, and it can be something that works for you. So let's take the subject of meditation and prayer, because I know as depending on what life cycle I've been in, this has looked very different for me throughout the years. When I was starting out my business and my kids were very little, I didn't have as much time. So this looked different. In fact, sometimes the meditation or the prayer part was in the shower, but it was intentional is the difference. It was intentional. Sometimes it can be, sitting by yourself with your cup of coffee. Meditation or prayer can be through journaling. It could be journaling and writing down your thoughts. It can be going into nothingness and just, sitting and being with yourself for a few minutes, and do whatever works for you. When I started this, I was not doing it as long as I am now. When I started, it was maybe 5 minutes. And even that was hard back then. So do whatever works for you, and do your best to, probably the most helpful thing I can tell you is get into a practice of doing it consistently every day. Because when you start to become consistent with it, even if it's never going to be perfect, right? It's not going to be perfect. But whatever you choose to do, whether it's just sitting or maybe use an app. I mean, there's tons of apps out there that can help you settle your brain down and just, calm yourself and get ready for the day. I like to listen to nature sounds. So right now the weather is beautiful where I live in St. Louis, and I can go out on my deck or my patio in the morning with my coffee, and I take all my things with me. And I, do my practices outside as long as the weather is nice. When it's not, I have a little, everybody's got a Spotify or some kind of, you can put on sounds. So I'll put on bird sounds or nature sounds or something to help me feel connected with nature. I feel like that's a big piece and that a lot of people are missing, because it literally can reset us. So I think that being out in some way, shape, or form. Sometimes I'll take a walk, and that's a form of meditation, as long as you are doing it in a reflective sort of way. Your walk could be in your backyard. So doing something that's not just throwing yourself into the fire first thing is really key to help you focus and set intentions for the day. So I have done this for different amounts of time. So I have, spans of time where I do this for, I have time for 5 minutes. So I need to, set a timer and just be quiet for 5 minutes. And then I have times where I am able to do longer now, because I've been practicing this for a while. And, it can be anywhere from 20, 30 minutes. I usually don't go a whole lot longer than that. That's about my max right now. But it is a huge help with focusing my day. When I do come into my desk and my workspace, or start to work with a client after having that time, it makes a big difference. It makes a big difference because I feel the inner peace, I feel settled, and I'm not rushing into things, and I get things done faster. It is the most bizarre thing. I noticed this years ago, even before I was an entrepreneur and my kids were very, very, very little. I noticed that whenever I took that time for myself, it seemed like there was some kind of time warp thing going on, where I had more time because I was spending the time on myself. And I think it goes back to focus. So keep that in mind as you're doing that first step. Do whatever you can, whatever that looks like for you, and know that meditation and prayer can look very differently. Maybe you like to draw. Maybe you can something that isn't engaging your mind a whole lot, something that's pulling yourself away from the social media, the phones, and all of those other things that can distract us and really keep us from staying on track. So I also find, I want to say this too, that I feel like it's important to have a dedicated space for this. So whether that be your kitchen table, I know in my house, especially right now, I've got, several young adults in the house. And so there's a lot of movement going on pretty constantly. And so finding that dedicated space can sometimes be a challenge. That's why I go outside or the front porch, or sometimes I'll go into another level of the house. just so that I can be by myself. And sometimes I'll do this right in the middle of the day. I love starting my day with it, but sometimes if it's a hectic day, I will pull myself away, recognizing that I need to settle my brain down a bit. And there's different ways for this. I know not everybody has the luxury of working from home, but if you don't, again, you probably have earplugs. You probably have a car or a space where you can sit for 5 minutes, turn on some soothing sounds, and just take 5 minutes to zone out for a bit so that you can go back into whatever it was you were doing from a more focused and more centered space. Okay. So second part of this is something that I also have been doing for a while, and it's something that I teach clients, and that is asking yourself focus-based questions, so results-based questions. So it is a way of directing your subconscious mind on what you want, on the things that you want, rather than the things that you don't want, which is kind of our default, right? So what we usually do when we came into this world, what we usually do is we ask questions like, well, why didn't that work out? Or why is this happening already? Or why didn't I do that? Why didn't I do this? Why did I gain weight? Why didn't I sleep well last night? And then what your brain does is it will answer the question, but with that question of why, it will give you all the negative reasons you did it. And which brings those things into focus, which starts this cycle of beating yourself up, which really isn't very productive if you're trying to have a productive day. So what I like to teach instead is to be very intentional about your questions. So asking what or how instead. So what can I do today that will move my business forward? How can I be more intentional throughout the day? What is the best outcome for this meeting that I have with XYZ company? So really thinking about what you have going on for the day and asking questions around that. You can do that with if you have a particular problem or something that you're trying to resolve, something that you're trying to get better at, ask how or what instead of why. And that will help direct your thoughts into the way that you want them to. I could do a whole podcast on this question asking myself. I mean, because it's just so profound. I have a client that was in one of my groups a couple months ago, and she started using this. It was one of the things after we did some of the deep work of removing some of these subconscious or shifting some of these subconscious limitations. And she did a question around how can I be more supportive of my husband? And at the time there was, I guess maybe some tensions and things going on. And she noticed that once she started asking this question, it really made a big, profound impact on their relationship because she was focused more on it. So the power of asking yourself the right questions, especially as you're starting the day, can really make a big imprint and a big impact on the rest of your day, your week, your month, your year, because it all adds up. So it's the tiny, tiny, tiny steps. Okay. Number 3. Number 3 is setting intentions for the day. So setting intentions for the day, I want to back up for a minute, because with the meditation and the questions and setting intentions for the day, these can all 3 be intertwined, because your meditation can end with, okay, what questions can I ask myself? Your intentions or your questions could be focused on what's your intention for the day. In fact, what I do a lot of times is I will write my question as an intention. So depending on what it is that I have going on, what meetings I have, who I'm meeting with, and I will write those as intentions. So intentions, it's different than goals. Intentions brings more of an energy into what you're doing. So my intention, even though I'm working, could be to bring some fun and some play into my work today. And so it could be, my intention could be that I'm going to connect. Maybe I have a lot of meetings and things, but my intention is for deeper connections. And so when I set that intention, what happens is my subconscious mind knows that that intention is out there in the space, and it's going to focus on it, and it's going to go do that thing for me. So setting your intentions for the day, whatever they are, they can be a goal, they can be part of that, but it is a little bit different because it can literally be, my intention is to have fun today. In fact, that's something that I will use on the weekends. My intention is to relax. My intention is to connect with my husband or my kids. It'll look a lot different, maybe not a lot different, but different on a weekend versus during the week, where my intention is to put out a good, valuable podcast today. It can be anything like that, as long as the intentions are, I want to say clean, but pure, kind of the pure hearted type intentions that are for a greater good. You will feel good about it as you go into it. And you'll know what that is. I hope that helps. Okay. Number 4, and again, this can be part of the very early morning practice of prayer, meditation, intentions, and all of that. And this is something that I like to include in that as well. And actually with number 4, sometimes I start with this. And it's also another thing that I can do in the middle of the day. It's very, very simple. And that is practicing gratitude. Practicing gratitude, especially when you have a lot going on, and maybe you just feel a little bit of chaos going on. Practicing gratitude is the one thing and the fastest thing you can do to really get yourself grounded again and get yourself focused again. It's easy. When you do that, you can write it down, you can just say it, you can think it, whatever it is, whatever way you choose to do it, it really helps ground you, and it sets the tone for the day. It also, because it's, you say it or think it or write it, it also brings it into focus. And when you bring something into focus, and that's what all of these things are meant to do, you're triggering, so I'm going to get sciencey on you. You're triggering the reticular activating system in your brain, which is the part of the brain that allows you to focus on things. It does it anyway. This part of your brain is doing it already. The difference is, when you don't set your day this way, if you're not doing any of these kinds of practices, your brain's going all over the place. And that's why you feel scattered. It's doing it, but it's because you didn't tell it what to do, because you didn't tell it and direct it in any way, shape, or form. It's going all over. And that's where the scatteredness, and that's where the lack of focus comes from. So it's really, really important. So gratitude is an easy way to do it. I don't have to tell you about gratitude. I mean, that's easy. I'm grateful that I woke up today. I'm grateful that I have a business. I'm grateful that I have ears to be listening to this podcast. So it is whatever comes to mind. And if you keep practicing this and you can get even more specific with it, that's even more powerful. So if you can bring a certain person into mind, I learned this. There was a man that was in a networking group that I was in years ago, and he said that every single day he practiced gratitude, but he also brought someone specific into mind that he was grateful for, and then he wrote out why. I'm grateful for Kim because, and then XYZ, and then something that's genuine that comes to mind about that person. And that's really taking it to another level. It really is taking it to another level. And in my mind, I'm like, that could lead to so many things. It could lead to a phone call or a text or a thank you or a little note or something else besides that thought that you had for the day. But whenever you appreciate things and you're grateful for things, it really brings more of that into our awareness because of that focus, because we were intentional about where we want our brains to go. Okay. And number 5, and this is after you've done all of those other things, because if you do this one before you've done all of those other things, it's not going to work as well. So the last thing is prioritizing your day. And I talk to so many people that, well, one, they're probably not doing all the other things we just talked about, but also they're going by a list. Well, I have this and I have this and I have this and I have this, and I'm never getting all the things done. And then they're stressed. And then when they go to bed at night, they're thinking about all the things they didn't get done. And then the next day they're kind of in reactive mode. So they're pulling up their list right away. So you can see, like, I just feel exhausted from just saying all that. You can see how that can create a vicious cycle of doing and doing and doing and doing and doing. And we weren't meant to be that way. I know that's our culture. I know that's like what, if you want to be successful, you have to do, grind and work and do. And yes, you do. And no, you're going to get there faster if you take the time for yourself first. So let's talk about prioritizing your day. I know you probably have a million things on your list that you need to do, or that you want to do, or that you think you should do, whichever one, you pick whichever category you want to put that in. What I want to challenge you to do is pick your top 3 things. What are the top 3 things that you can do today that's going to move your business forward, that's going to give your business or your life, whatever you're working on, that's going to make the biggest impact for you? What are those 3 things? And do that. And I'm not saying only do 3 things. It's okay if you have that ongoing list, but have the mindset that if I only did these 3 things, I only did those 3 things, I've had a great day. I accomplished what I was set out to do. I made progress, because your brain needs to see that. Again, I'm talking about that reticular activating system that's in your brain. Whenever you do this and you only do the 3 and you're able to do check, I did that, check, I did that, check, I did that, you get to go attaboy with your subconscious mind. And it likes to have that that achievement. It likes to have that accomplishment done. And if it doesn't ever see progress because you keep throwing more things on, more things on, more things on, more things on, it's hard. It makes it harder the next day and the next day and the next day, because it becomes like, oh, well, I'm not ever getting anywhere, so what's the point? Or, well, I'll keep doing it, but it's going to feel like you're pushing a boulder up a hill. I wish I could remember the book. If I think about it, and I can put it in the show notes, but I read a book that another friend of mine recommended years ago. And I think that was the only thing out of the book that I took, was just focus on the 3 things. And I do way more than 3 things every day, but sometimes I don't. sometimes it's only the three things, but I prioritize them and I give myself kudos at the end of the day that I did them. And then I can compile what's going to be my intentions for the following day. And that was a big game changer. But I want to stress again, you want to start your day with those other things before you start talking about prioritizing your day and all of that, because if you don't, that focus is going to be all over and you're not going to be able to really tune into what those three things, what are the biggest things that if you accomplish them will move you the most forward, or will help you the most today, or will give you the biggest traction, or, fill in the blank on whatever that is. Pay attention to what those things are and do that. So I want to summarize everything we talked about. So going back, start your day with meditation or prayer. Doesn't matter if you're not able to do it for 20, 30 minutes or whatever the time frame. I have friends that do meditation for 2 hours straight. I'm not there yet myself, but I know that it's possible to do that. But I know where I started. I started with like 5 minutes, and that was hard. It was hard in the beginning because I had a lot going on up here. So start somewhere with that meditation and prayer. Number 2, ask yourself great questions. Drop those why questions and ask yourself the what and how instead. Number 3, set your intentions for the day or for the week or for the month. I like to set daily intentions. I actually do all of them because that helps me focus. Number 4, cultivate gratitude. Be grateful. If you need to take a step back, even in the middle of the day, because you're feeling a little bit off, take in a deep breath. I want to add that in. You should be breathing through all of these steps. Take a deep breath in and step into the gratitude. What can you be grateful for right now? And the last step is prioritizing your day with those top 3 things that are going to help move you forward in your business or in your life the most. I'm Kimberly Lebbing. I hope you found this podcast helpful. Do me a favor and rate my podcast. I would love it if you would do that for me, because it helps more people see it, hear it, and download it. And I hope you have a magnificent rest of your day. Thank you for listening today. I want to invite you to download my free guide at resources.kimberlylebbing.com/unlock. It's called Unlocking Your Authentic Self, 5 Key Steps to Identify and Overcome Hidden Limitations in Your Life and Business and Realize Your Highest Potential. Thank you again for listening today.